Hello, everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip. This was a passion project for Anderson. I can't help but think or wonder if he was maybe distracted making some of these later Resident Evil films when he was trying to make this get this film off the ground. And I have my own thoughts of thinking that that's why the Resident Evil film franchise ended so hastily is because he wanted to get this movie off the ground, but whatever. So he turned out a script. The original concept for this film was going to be something kind of weird. Like, it was going to be an American dragged into the parallel universe, learning how to fight monsters, having to deal with the situation when monsters cross back into the real world and start attacking, with a climactic final battle at LAX, the Los Angeles airport.
See, I love that you say that, because as somebody whose other podcast is specifically tailored to dealing with YA properties, that 100% makes sense given the time parameters he was making, because that's what YA was doing. It was like YA characters embarking on these massive missions, being the chosen one, and then having to deal with huge fights.
Oh my god. The chosen one narrative, I am so over it, and I'm so glad that they don't do that with Jovovich in this movie, where they're like, oh, you're the one that's meant to lead us to salvation.
Mm-hmm.
No. She's just a novice who's learning, and she's going to join you guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that's ultimately also why Anderson changes it, because he realizes, oh, that fad has passed. This is not the time to be making this narrative. Because I can imagine this film with a blonde 16-year-old / played by a 25-year-old actor from Hollywood, and it would have been garbage.
I mean, Milla Jovovich, she's not old, but she's a 45-year-old actress who is headlining action movies, and it's so fucking awesome to watch. I'd rather, nothing against younger actors or, 20-something actors playing teenagers, but I just like seeing this badass woman in her 40s fight monsters.
And let's be clear, Milla does not look her age
either.
No! She looks exactly the same age as she has always looked, except for maybe dazed and confused.
Yeah, exactly. No, she looks fantastic.
But I appreciate what you're saying. It's good to have this movie anchored with someone with a bit of gravitas and also goodwill from action fans.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I think the reception of this film was surprising to me, at least from the general public. People really like this a lot more than I thought they would, given how many people I see shit on Anderson all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like the people have come around in the same way that I talked about earlier, where if you like his movies, you will accept that this is what he's going to give you, and you like that. You respect that for him. But if you don't like his movies, then this is more of the same.
It is more of the same. I would argue. I say this without having seen Pompeii or Three Musketeers, but there's a sense of fun in this movie. Coming into this, having never played the game, I was like, okay, it's a simple enough story-ish, I guess. I'll buy whatever mumbo-jumbo you're selling about, ancient ones and sky towers and whatnot.
Oh my God, but Sky Tower.
I could not even. But it's not complicated, right? It's okay, look, we are here to see big monsters. But honestly, the middle chunk of this film, which is just Milla Jovovich and Tony Jaa in some kind of action buddy comedy, was my favorite part of the film.
And it doesn't hurt that they have a lot of good comedic chemistry. And, Anderson knows how to play to Milla's strengths. So he gives her the one-liners, he gives her the looks, and he lets her shine in the action sequences. And then, of course, you've got Tony Jaa. So he's kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, he's not given a single line of English to say, which, okay, but...
I don't know if that's... Because we talked about this offline. We were like, oh, okay, he's been in a couple of American films. I don't know if he is comfortable speaking English, but I can't remember his other roles.
Well, maybe not. Nevertheless, he's a good get. Tony Jaa is great. Yep. But it's I'm like, I can't help but sometimes feel where it's well, did you just not want to give the co-lead really any speaking lines so that Milla Jovovich could have more to say?
Yeah, there were a couple of points where I thought, this is a little uncomfortable that we're basically casting a prominent, in terms of like stunt and action sequence capabilities, like Tony Jaa is fully competent. But I did feel a sense of discomfort that it's like, white lady comes in, and then we've got this POC sidekick who doesn't speak any English. And you're like,
I mean, we're not going to go through this plot from beginning to end, but I will say that I did at least appreciate when they're fighting the Rathalos, which dragon. They're fighting the dragon, and she, puts it down, but then he does come in and save her. So even though we have like, oh, man comes in and saves woman, it's very much also like, oh, but we also have this, person of color martial arts actor who is the kick-ass one.
It felt like they were equally trading blows. Like he would save her life, she would save his life. So it didn't feel like white person saviory.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, because she's the first, it's like she's the one to kill the Diablos first, so it makes sense that he would come in for the big final one. Well, right. I'm sorry, not the final one.
Oh my God.
Hello, I'm Shelby Scott, the host of Scare You to Sleep, a podcast where I tell you spooky bedtime stories full of creepy sound effects and music that is soothing yet unsettling to help immerse you into a world of horror. This is a show for those of us who have realized horror can be a strange but relaxing escape from reality. Speaking of escapes, sometimes I lead you through guided nightmares, like a guided meditation, but instead of flowery meadows, I take you on a journey through your own personal nightmare. So come get lost in the terror with me. Listen to Scare You to Sleep wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm. Sweet screams.